Hi, I just came from a 10-day silent meditation retreat and I wanted to share a little bit of my experience. It's also called the Vipassana course, and basically it's 10 days. You go on day 0 and you leave on day 11, so it's really like 10 full days, but actually 12 days. The schedule is very strict from 4 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. You drop all your belongings at the door, so you have no phone, no notebook, no book, no distraction whatsoever. You have to take out the jewelry, do not look at other people. There are barely mirrors, so it's really this experience of being isolated. And you have breakfast, you have lunch, you don't have dinner. You're meditating. It's 10 hours a day, but if you count the breaks, as I do, because it's really tough to do nothing, so you keep meditating, I guess. It's around 12 hours, so in total it's like 100 to 120 hours that you're meditating, and it's called Vipassana because Vipassana is the name of the technique that you're developing. And until day 4, you're developing this thing called Anapana, which is just focusing on the breath and awareness of the breath. So obviously we're breathing all the time, but we're not aware, of the sensations that come when the air comes in and out. And the reason this happens for the first 4 days is that you have a very focused and very sharp mind, so that then on day 4 until day 10 you can focus on the sensations of the body and just go through the body from like head to toe. And I think this is one of the most impactful experiences I have had in my entire life. This is the 3rd retreat I am doing, all this with a 3 years gap. And the first one, I think I went in a very naive way because I am very curious and I was already meditating a lot, and I was like, well, I guess if I do this retreat, it's gonna enhance my technique, it's gonna make me go more in depth. But so many things come up, and I don't know what it is about this technique, but this was taught, by master to master. It has a lot of the Buddhist teachings, but there are a lot of things that they are saying in the talk. So we have a talk at the end of the day, which is called the Dhamma talk, that it's not about religion. It has nothing to do with sects. It has nothing to do with religion itself, but it takes a lot of the Buddhist philosophy and ways of being. So the base of it's on 3 precepts. And as you can see, I have no, I'm just sharing my experience because I need to process. I haven't been able to face the world. I just left this morning, so it's been a lot. And so I just wanted to talk. And so yeah, like 3 precepts. Number 1 is called Chila, and Chila is to live a life of morality. So it's not about just meditating and sitting through pain and becoming aware of what you're going through, but actually implementing those things into your life. They sound very basic, but then at the level in which we are living with other people, they're actually not that basic. So it's all about like not stealing, sexual misconduct, etc. So like everything that's most religions have, but you actually have to live that. And then you go into the second one, which is called Panya, or Samadhi. Actually, it's the second one. And Samadhi is the sharpness of the mind. It's just make your mind really aware of the sensations, because he connects the sensations with then the emotions and with something that's called the Sankara. And the Sankara is basically an impurity of the mind, so it's about purifying the mind. And then the last one is wisdom, and and wisdom is really having this understanding at an experiential level of the impurities that you have in the mind and the ways that you act and what you do and what you say, and really understanding it at a bodily level, because that's the only way to process emotions and to really make changes from a deep place. And again, like I got therapy a lot for years, and I feel like I'm hyper aware, and there are a lot of things that I know about myself and about my behaviors that they lay at a very intellectual level. So I can explain them, I can intellectualize them, I can understand them, but I can't really change because I don't feel it in my body. So there's like micro changes, but there's nothing compared to this, and it's so painful and it's so uncomfortable. I mean, obviously depending what you're going through. For me, this 3rd one, I thought it would get easier, but it just got worse. It was worse than the last ones. Like I was crying every day, and it's so much, because I'll talk a bit about my experience, but in general, what I hear about other people, and even the teacher says this a lot, is that the worst days are... Oh, shit. Okay, so I'm staying in a boat, because I thought it was fun. I'm in Stockholm, but this door... One second. What I hear from other students and from the teacher and everyone is that the hardest days are day 2, day 4, and day 6 for some reason, or at least day 2 and day 6. And then maybe the 4 I invented, but for me the day 4 is like this is a lot, but it's the day I know the technique changes, so then you get a bit more entertained versus spending 10 to 12 hours a day just with the breath, you know, for like 4 days. And because I'm considered an old student, because I've done other courses, I can go earlier in the technique, but if I'm not feeling the sensations, then it doesn't make sense. So I need to sharpen my mind again. And there are people who live like more simple lives or more agitated lives. For me, my life is quite fast paced. There's a lot going on, and a lot of what I realized for this time was that I was going with a lot of energetic entanglements. And although I was aware of, you know, horizontally the explanation of them and even vertically the depth of what I was going through, I was not ready for what I experienced and for everything that came up. So the first 2 days, for me, like until mid day 2, it wasn't that tough because I knew what was going to happen, and there are a lot of running thoughts, right? So you go from future, inventing stories, delusions, wherever like you made up about what reality is supposed to be looking like, and then you go to the past and you reinvent stories, and this person said this thing and they acted that way and this and that. So that was my experience, and I was just like, okay, monkey mind, like this is crazy. I'm feeling at peace because I'm actually, you know, finally having this space for myself and this time and really allowing all the thoughts to run through and then to go back to the present. And then from day 2, I realized that nothing really matters. I'm having this thought, oh, I have to do this thing, or I have to have this talk, and then emotions started arising. And obviously, again, depends what you're going through. But for me, like mid day 2 and like day 3 and even until a bit of day 4, it was just anger, like so much anger, and you have absolutely no distraction, right? You can speak to the teacher once a day. So you can sign up to speak to the teacher for like 10 minutes if you have any question. So that was the day I went and I spoke to her. I signed up, so right after lunch. And then I asked her, I was like, I have all this anger, like, what am I supposed to do? I can't sit still, my body's incredibly restless. And all these things keep coming up. And then basically, I mean, I don't know why, but every time I speak to the teacher, she gives me more or less the same answer, like in one way or another. And she was just like, just need to sit with it. There's some sankara that you need to release. And I don't know what's the explanation for this, but like Goenka is the name of the teacher, and he's one of the last teachers, and they made recordings, so we just watched the Dharma at the end of the day, once a day for 1 hour at like 7:30, so right before sleep. And 7:30, yeah. And so the recordings were made in 92, and the guy died in 2014. I don't know who came after that is teaching this, but it's relevant. And there's one of the talks in where he's talking about the impurities being released through the sensation. So you feel obviously a lot of pain, like I'm sitting in this same freaking position for 12 hours every day, right? And then I'm feeling pain, but then there's stuff coming up and there's sensations, and the goal is that you go from a point where you can't, you know, you're just breathing, right? You're becoming aware of the breath. And then as day 4, the technique changes, then you start becoming aware of sensations. And there are blind spots that are supposed to have these impurities in terms of sensation. And then after a while, you start feeling more and more and more until, I mean, hopefully, it doesn't happen to everyone. It didn't happen to me on the first course because I guess I didn't understand the technique really well. But now, because I'm more aware of the way it's supposed to go, then I'm more sharp to go into like small areas, and I end the course really like feeling my whole body tingling and really like micro sensations. And then things arise and thoughts arise and emotions arise, and you're not supposed to observe them. You're just supposed to keep going with the sensations, because that's how you are releasing really the impurities, because they get attached there. And there's one of the talks, I was saying this because there's one of the talks in which he's talking about the mechanics and the explanation of it at a scientific level, and then he uses a metaphor of the soap. So the soap is supposed to clean you, and you brush it through the body, you take a shower, and you end up being clean. And you shouldn't be asking how the soap is made, which kind of ingredients. I mean, you can ask and you can research, but you leave that to the scientists to make it, so you don't really question the technique, you just question the results and the outcome, and it's supposed to make you feel better. There are a lot of insights I took from that. But anyway, so you get all these attachments, and he says that the impurities are created through 2 things that we do in our day-to-day lives, with or without realizing, right? So it's all the craving, so wanting something really, really badly, and it's all the aversion, which is not wanting something really, really badly. So when you're observing the sensations throughout the body, then you're doing that thing, right? When it's tingling, you're like, oh, I love this sensation, I want more of it. That's not the goal. And then there are other sensations in which you're like, oh fuck, like this is painful, and then I don't want this, right? So you should have this craving and you should have this aversion. You should just observe it, because you come to the realization that everything is impermanence. And he uses the word from Pali, which is anicca. I have a tattoo for anicca. It's impermanence. Everything changes. So when things are good, these too shall pass. They will go to neutral. You will be bad. They will be painful. So it's just the wave of life. And the more you can observe it, the more you can detach from it, and the less you suffer. So like the happier you become. And obviously the goal is liberation. This is one of the paths. Yeah, and then it leads to, I think in day 4 is again, so you go to the breath, Anipana, and then day 4 becomes the practice of Vipassana, which is observing the sensations throughout the body, and then your mind gets sharper and sharper, and then things keep coming up, and different sensations that are very uncomfortable, very painful, come up, and then it's when you should be starting to get the most detached from it, as you progress throughout the days. And I mean, wherever, if you're not, and if you keep having aversion, you keep having craving, and you keep having attachments, even to your ego, and you don't really accept what is going in the body, then it's just going to be harder and harder. And for me, I think day 4 was kind of fine, because I was like very excited for Vipassana to come, because I was like, I'm so done with the breath. But then after that, it was just like a huge roller coaster of everything that's coming. And again, sometimes you know the truth, but you know the truth at a very superficial level. And then when it comes with depth, it's like, fuck, like these are all the things I'm not accepting about myself. And then you're like fighting it, because this is me, right? This is my personality, this is my ego, like these are all my identities. And if then I break it all, like who am I in the end of the day? So we're going through a bit of a crisis, but it's okay. We're gonna get there or somewhere, because if there's something I wrote, so on day 10, okay, so and day 4, and then you're just like, okay, I'm done with this. And then it comes day 10, which is the day of the retreats, and it's a day in which the noble silence is broken. So from the meditation that we have from 8 to 9 in the morning, so there are 3 group sittings that you have to go to the hall, and then you see it, there's total segregation, women to one side, men to one side, and 3 hours a day you should be sitting in this hall, meditating with the group. You have your own individual, it's not a cell, but it's like your own individual place. So you're, again, just sitting there. And then you develop this thing, which is called Aditi. So you should be sitting in the same position, you should not be moving for that 1 hour. And trust me or not, like by the end of, I think from day like 5 or 6, it's just like, it goes in like really quickly. And in the beginning you're like, fuck, like every day feels like you're there for a month, it feels like I'm there for, okay, let's say like a week at least. Like I'm there for 10 weeks. Like it's so freaking long, because your perception of time obviously changes a lot, and your thoughts keep coming, and your fears keep coming, and your pains keep coming, and it's just like, fuck my life. But that's it. And then you just go back to the present moment, because in the present moment everything is okay. And every time I'd be like, going to the future, I'd be like, oh, but this should be like, it shouldn't be like that. It's just here, and right here I can move it to transform it for there. But like the future is not real, and the past is not real. The past already happened, and it's me. Why did they say? Why? Like it doesn't matter. And then it's creating these emotions, this anger, this anxiety. Oh, I also had a lot of anxiety by day, like end of day 3, and then like day 3 and 4. So it like was unbearable. Like was going all throughout my body, and I've always thought that my anxiety is kind of chronic, because it's like, when it comes, it's just like takes over my body. I'm like, ah. And then I realized that it's also a feeling. And so by day 4 I was just accepting it, because I was like, like body kept moving, and I had to like walk, stand up when we were doing the like the sittings in the room or in the hall, so our individual sittings. And I was just like, oh, I can't sit, and it was so annoying, so frustrating. And I was like, I'll just need to go to the sensations where I feel like my heart is being ripped off my chest, right? And then it kind of went away, because I accepted that I was just in the present, which was very interesting, because in the day-to-day, again, these are stuff that you can accept and you can understand at an intellectual level, but you don't understand at like a bodily level, where I'm like, okay, I just have to be present. Oh, okay, present. Oh, present. And then you just keep pushing yourself to these points where reality is, where truth is, and then everything else vanishes. And my anxiety was gone by day 5. And then it was coming a little bit, and I was like, oh, no, back. And it was never unbearable as it was. Okay, so on day 10, the noble silence is broken, and we can start chatting. And I was like so nervous because I'm like, fuck, I've been for 9 days just looking at the floor, like, you know, just on my own, with even with having people around. And we had a little forest, we could walk around, and obviously it has like little lines, so you just stay inside the spot. And then I, like, again, we're not supposed to write, we're not supposed to do anything, like, we just sit. But then I wanted to write just like bullet points because my brain was going crazy, but we don't have papers. But one of the ladies, because there's like some assistants, like she gave me a pen, so I just took. It's the only thing I had. So I had these like coffee thing. Literally, it's like, yeah, because we like coffee. Anyway, I mostly didn't drink coffee there. And then I was like, I'm gonna write the bullet points of what I remember from each day and just insights of stuff I need. I will write more when I get home, but I just, you know, I'm so fresh into it. So I wrote wherever like fits into this little thing. And I tried to go day by day, but then all days feel like a blur. And then I've realized that a lot of things I was just like writing bullet points to go back to it, but it doesn't really matter because like, oh, I have to do this, or like this insight, that thing, and then the depth of it. Now when I wrote like pages, right? And like when I spring it, it fits into like 4 boxes, and this is the truth. And then I can choose to work on 1 or 2, and then the other 2 being like just as a reminder of going back to stillness, and they kind of work themselves. For me, again, wherever insights I got of where I'm going through, everyone is different. But yeah, and then I wrote in the middle just like these kind of clouds of keywords that were coming up. So it was a lot of craving and aversion again, that we keep going from one to the other. It's about, I'm in the business world and I don't wish to become, you know, something else. Like just leave this field. I mean, so it's a field that already in itself has a lot of greed and a lot of craving. And it's like, how can you want without the craving? But you can if you do it in a pure way and you live by Sheila, which is, you know, the life of morality. I just wrote a lot about just acceptance, change, equanimity, stillness, sensations, being bored, and just being aware. My door's gonna break again. I think that's the end. This is so painful. And now I think the most important part is how you choose to go back into the world. The first time I've done it, I had no idea. I was literally so naive. I was like, I went back and it was a big crash of getting all these realizations, but like not knowing how to integrate them back into life and not having the right community to share these with. Because again, you can go to therapy, but that's only going to help so much if you don't fix things at like internally, so at the body level. And that's my main insight for the last few months as well. And even I meditate like 1 hour minimum every day, mostly like on average. And it's not enough because you don't allow yourself to go to this level of depth. And again, I've been doing this for many months and many years. I've been meditating since 2017, and like nothing compares to these freaking retreats. And now I can't decide what to do with my life. But life is good. And another thing I wrote in my notes, put it as like a pin, so you keep going back to it in the next few days, which is you can't keep running away from yourself and call it a life. So this is what we need to deal with. This is the life we have, and we like it or not, this is the path to liberation. And liberation is just a life of fulfillment. We don't need to become Buddhist. I don't know, that's not my goal at least, but yeah, just a life of happiness and acceptance. And letting go of that doesn't serve us. I don't know if I'd recommend this to everyone, but I would love my parents to go. I think generational trauma would be fixed. Anyway, I love you. There's the sea. There's a Swedish sea.